Hello everyone, welcome to SRIRAM'S IAS current affairs session, where we will be taking up the important articles from the Hindu newspaper and breaking it down to simplify for our understanding and to take it forward for us to understand what is important for us to know from the UPSC perspective in them. We know that current affairs is increasingly getting very complex and UPSC is linking the dynamic part with the static part. That is why current affairs is taking up a lot of importance for us to study and to analyze it. So, the objective of this initiative would be to better understand the articles and events that are coming in the newspaper and to then break it down for us to understand and to develop the analytical skill of analyzing the current affairs which appear in the newspaper and take it to the level of expertise or mastery in UPSC. With this, let's take up the topics for today. The topics for today are on your screen. We have taken this from the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper, dated 1st June. So, we will be taking up each articles one by one, assigning them as to which part of the syllabus they belong to, and then we will try to understand them. Let us try to understand the first article. The first article which appears in the Hindu newspaper is the questioning the safety of Aadhaar. Now, why has this article come up? When we talk about Aadhaar, it forms a part of GS2 . This article will form an important part for us to study from the perspective of GS2. Now, what has happened? Why has this article come into the newspaper? On 27th of May, the government put forward a press release asking the citizens, the government through UIDAI or the Unique Identification Development Authority of India. Through it the UIDAI promulgated a press release asking the citizens not to or to refrain from sharing its photocopies of Aadhaar or Aadhaar numbers to anyone. And 2 days later, that press release was withdrawn on stating that it wants to avert any possibility of misinterpretation and asked people to exercise normal prudence in using or sharing their Aadhaar numbers. Now, obviously, this sparked a lot of confusion as to why the body is asking us to refrain from sharing the Aadhaar numbers and instead asking to share the masked Aadhaar number. Now, what is a masked Aadhaar number? Of the 12 digits of the Aadhaar number, initial 8 digits are marked with the X sign, that is the masked Aadhaar number. Now, why did the UIDAI as a body suggest this, and does it pose questions on the safety of the Aadhaar? Does it pose questions on the privacy of the citizens through the Aadhaar system? Is the genesis or is the motive of this article to discuss as to what is the use of Aadhaar, whether it is safe, what kind of misuses are happening on Aadhaar is what we will try to look. Now, what are the uses of Aadhaar? According to the Aadhaar Targeted Delivery of Financial and Other Subsidies, Benefits and Services Act 2016, which forms the basis of Aadhaar and its uses, it makes clear that Aadhaar authentication is necessary for availing subsidies, benefits and services that are financed from the Consolidated Fund of India, which means that Aadhaar is necessary for the government to disburse any kind of benefits and subsidies and services it wants to disburse to its citizens. So, citizens must have an Aadhaar card in order to receive these benefits. Apart from that, other direct benefit transfers which are done by mechanisms such as the Aadhaar Payments Bridge or the Aadhaar Enabled Payment System, which are the flagship programs of NPCI or the National Payments Corporation of India. These are also carried out and the basis for them is the Aadhaar, where the direct benefit transfer into their bank accounts are done through Aadhaar, and the Aadhaar cards or Aadhaar numbers are linked to their bank accounts. Other uses of Aadhaar, we know that it's a preferred KYC document. It is also required for opening a bank account, for acquiring a new SIM, or taking school admissions. All of this, wherever you establish an identity of a person, the Aadhaar can be used. These are the multifaceted use of Aadhaar, where its central point is the focus of direct benefit transfer to its citizens through the system of Aadhaar. Now, the Act says that this information has to be confidential and cannot be publicly displayed on any platform, right? This is the safety system that has been stipulated in the Act. But has it been successfully secured? Let's see. Because there are also a lot of cases of misuse of Aadhaar. According to the National Payment Corporation of India data, rupees 6.48 crore worth of financial frauds through 8,739 transactions involving 2,391 unique users took place in the financial year 21-22. So this means that in a span of 1 year itself, there were financial frauds taking place for rupees 6.48 crore worth of financial frauds based on Aadhaar cards. This is a startling data which poses a question on the security of Aadhaar as to if Aadhaar is supposed to be a secured system, why is this much amount of figures of frauds happening. Additionally, in 2017, researchers at the Center for International Internet and Security, or CIS, acquired information of various beneficiaries of such social security and employment schemes, such as their Aadhaar numbers, their bank account details, their job card status, and their mobile number. So an NGO known as the Center for Internet and Society was able to make this possible. The same year, the UIDAI, in response to an RTI, stated that more than 200 central and state government websites publicly displayed details of some Aadhaar beneficiaries, such as their names and addresses on their website. So this means that the kind of protection that the Act was envisaging was not really possible, because there were a lot of frauds happening as well, and one NGO was able to access the Aadhaar numbers as well as 200 central and state government websites publicly displayed the details of some Aadhaar beneficiaries. All of this was possible because of the lack of robust encryption. Because of there not being robust encryption possible, all of this leakage of data or promulgation of data or display of data where it was not supposed to be was made possible. This shows the vulnerability of data on Aadhaar. CIS states that the brokers are known to buy tons of Aadhaar documents from mobile shops and other places where the identification document is shared. Now this is a very serious news, wherein let's say we go to acquire a mobile SIM and that particular vendor takes our Aadhaar number. It is known that a lot of brokers are now buying those Aadhaar documents from these identification centers. This is a very grave news which sort of establishes the possibility for fraud through Aadhaar, because by taking up these Aadhaar numbers, this can be misused, and also the bank account are linked with Aadhaar, and the bank account, after being linked, actually one also needs mobile numbers for OTP to embezzle any kind of funds or transfer any kinds of funds. But when the Aadhaar number is there with the broker or with any kind of a person who wants to commit a crime, they can change the mobile number linked to the Aadhaar as well, and which is linked to the bank account number, and hence also get the mobile number and try to embezzle funds out of the person's account. So this makes the lack of protection of Aadhaar number makes possible for embezzling of such funds from any beneficiary's accounts, right? These are the examples through which have showcased how the Aadhaar has been misused or is able to misuse. Additionally, CAG, or the Comptroller and Auditor General of India's latest report stipulated that UIDAI neither specified any encryption algorithm as of October 2020 to secure the same, nor a mechanism to illustrate the entities were adhering to appropriate procedures. So, CAG's report found out that there was not a efficient encryption algorithm in place which could ensure the safety of Aadhaar data for wherever it is placed, and the CAG also reported that apart from the issue of multiple Aadhaars, which means that there have been multiple Aadhaars issued to similar to the same resident, there have been instances of the same biometric data being accorded to multiple residents. Imagine this, where the same biometric data is there for different Aadhaar numbers. This has resulted into a lot of deduplication, and according to UIDAI's Tech Center, nearly 4.75 lakh duplicate Aadhaar numbers were cancelled as of November 2019. All of this data suggests as to the inefficiencies of dealing with Aadhaar, and these are not very easy or easygoing difficulties. These are very grave difficulties which, if not taken care of, poses grave threat to a person's security, financial security, privacy, and therefore these interventions really need to be taken care of, and the Aadhaar needs to be secured. Right. So, through this article we understand the importance of Aadhaar, what is its use, and what is the misuse that is happening for Aadhaar. Right. Through this we understand what can be done for Aadhaar. So, with this we take our second article. The second article which appears in the Hindu newspaper dated 1st June is the India's EV ambition rides on 3 wheels. Now, what does this article talk about? This article talks about the India's ambitious plan for push for electric vehicles adoption, right? We know that India is looking to expand or adopt to electrical vehicles and move towards it, and with that it has promulgated 2 schemes, which is the faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicles, or the FAME scheme. There have been 2 phases of FAME. Phase 1, which was launched in 2015, was approved with an outlay of rupees 895 crore, and the phase 2 has been approved for an outlay of rupees 10,000 crore. We can see that there has been a significant increase in phase 1 from phase 1 to phase 2, and the phase 2 was approved in 2019 for a period of 3 years and has been now extended for 3 more years. Now, extension of 2 more years. Now, this scheme, the authors talk about this scheme and India's strategy to push itself in the direction of electric vehicles, and in this they try to analyze through this scheme on the various parameters as to how we are doing and what are the positives that can be taken out, or what are the and also the issues that can be flagged out. In that, in the FAME phase 2, where it got a 2-year extension, the parameters or the objectives under FAME scheme are that they want to register 2 lakh electric two-wheelers, wherein they have a target of at least registering 10 lakh electric two-wheelers, 5 lakh electric 3-wheelers, and 55,000 electric 4-wheeler passenger cars and 7,000 e-buses. You must have heard the news few days ago where Delhi inaugurated a fleet of its e-buses. So, based on all of these vehicles and the registration of this certain target, the FAME scheme envisages to register these many vehicles and adopt electric vehicles in the market. Now, based on this, the authors try to highlight a single segment for the success, that is the 3-wheelers. It tries to analyze the success story of electric 3-wheelers which have outgrown the adoption of as compared to the other vehicles, wherein they say that three-wheelers account for 65% of total registrations in the market, which are around 4 lakh registrations already done since 2019, which shows that of the 5 lakh target of electric three-wheelers, 4 lakh registrations have already been done. These three-wheelers are nothing but the rickshaws or the commuter vehicle which we often see in Delhi, in around us and other places. These are those electric three-wheelers, whereas the registrations for two-wheelers has been 30% and for four-wheelers it has been a meager 2%. So, using this data, the authors now try to analyze what is the reason behind three-wheelers succeeding in the market and what are the issues that plague them and what can be learnt for the two-wheelers and four-wheeler segment as well to increase their adoptions as well. Now, let us look at the success story of the three-wheelers. What are the reasons that the three-wheelers have been successfully adopted? First of all, the EV registration data show that Assam, Bihar, Delhi, UP and West Bengal, these 5 states account for close to 80% of all three-wheeler registrations, with UP accounting for close to 40% of the registrations. So, the adoption of electric three-wheelers have been dominated by these 5 states, with major share 40% share taken by Uttar Pradesh. Now, what is the reason that apart from other electric vehicles, e-rickshaws or electric three-wheelers have come into the fore much quickly? The reasons for them are that they are indigenously produced, their production is financially assisted from the FAME scheme, wherein if there is any manufacturer who wants to manufacture electric three-wheeler, they will get assistance under the FAME scheme, and consequently an electric three-wheeler costs very less from 1 lakh to 1.5 lakh. So, this cost effectiveness makes it for every small local manufacturer to manufacture these electric vehicles. Apart from that, all 5 states provide road tax exemption of 100%, wherein if you are driving the e-wheeler, there would be 100% road tax exemption and on registration fees as well. So, therefore, there would be no registration fee also that is needed to be paid. Apart from that, additional benefits on interest rate on loans. So, if anyone wants to take interest loan on manufacturing or buying these electric vehicles, there are benefits on the interest rate on these loans where the interest rate would be very less, and there are scrappage incentives as well, wherein if after the considerable usage of these vehicles, if you want to scrap the vehicle, then there are scrappage incentives in some states as well. UP additionally has exempted state GST or SGST on manufacturing EVs in the state as well. So, these are the points or these are the reasons due to which electric vehicles, that especially those of electric three-wheelers, have found the success in the Indian market, but they are yet to be emulated by the two-wheelers or the four-wheelers. Now, all of these steps which are taken in the electric three-wheelers also need to be emulated to the electric two-wheelers and four-wheelers, but there are also certain issues. We will look at that issues, but before that, let us look at the issues with electric three-wheelers. If these are the reasons for their success, the authors say that the reasons for the issues which are plagued by them are of safety issues. Since these electric three-wheelers are not so robustly made and they are not made from the utmost safety security point of view, they carry certain safety issues which need to be taken care of. So, as much as there has been a success story for electric three-wheelers, if this safety issue is also taken care of, we will soon be able to leverage the benefit of electric three-wheelers more. Now, let us look at the issues that are plagued by electric two-wheelers and electric four-wheelers, as to what are the reasons why there is only 30% adoption, as we saw 30% registration for electric two-wheelers and only 2.5% registration for electric four-wheelers. There are so many demand and supply side issues. What do we mean when we say demand and supply side issues? Demand side issue means that there are issues with respect to the demand of these vehicles, and supply side issues means that there are issues with respect to the increasing the supply of these vehicles. So when we say that there are demand side issues, that it means that consumers who want to buy these vehicles for themselves are apprehensive about buying it for themselves, because obviously they are more concerned with these vehicles being they need to satisfy themselves on all parameters, and which is not happening, which is why this comes under a demand issue. Then recent incidents of the e-scooters catching fire has added to the problems. When e-scooters, this has been a news, 4 to 5 incidents have occurred in the past month, right? These incidents further discourage the buyers from buying electric two-wheelers or electric four-wheelers if such explosive or explosion incidents keep happening. Then there are less options of reliable manufacturers for these vehicles as well. This becomes a supply side issue, where not many players have come into the market to manufacture reliable options of these e-two-wheelers and e-four-wheelers. Yet the government is working on this. They are giving incentives to various players, prominent as well as local players, to manufacture e-two-wheelers and e-four-wheelers. The care that needs to be taken care of is that the amount of incentives that were given to electric three-wheelers, they also need to be promulgated for the electric two-wheelers and four-wheelers, and certain other incentives also needs to be given for the rapid manufacturing and adoption for electric two-wheelers and four-wheelers. Only then the FAME scheme in its true entirety will be able to be fulfilled. Students can comment in the comment box which ministry has promulgated the FAME scheme. You can write in the comment box. With this, let's move on with our next article. The next article talks about Indus water talks held on cordial terms. Now this article talks about the Indus water treaty. Amongst which countries are is the Indus water treaty signed? Between India and Pakistan. The Indus water treaty becomes important for us from the point of view of GS2, wherein we have the international relations part and for the purposes of prelims, right. So we have the Indus water treaty, the article which talks about that there was a cordial meet between the delegations of India and Pakistan on the for the discussions of Indus water. It becomes important for us to know what is the Indus water treaty, when it was signed, what are the key provisions of Indus water treaty. So let's look at that one by one. So as we have seen before, the Indus water treaty is a treaty for the distribution of waters of the Indus and its tributaries between India and Pakistan, and is governed by the Indus water treaty. So the treaty is basically for the distribution of waters of Indus and its tributaries between the two countries of India and Pakistan. Now how is the water divided? Before that, the treaty was signed on September 19, 1960 between India, Pakistan and representative of World Bank after 8 years of negotiation. So these are the two countries between which Indus water treaty is signed. And what are the some of the key provisions of the treaty? The first key provision, which distributes the water between India and Pakistan, says that the western rivers, the west side of the rivers, that is river Chenab, Jhelum and Indus, belong predominantly for the usage of Pakistan, and the eastern rivers, river Satluj, Beas and river Ravi, which fall on the eastern side of the rivers, belong to India, where India's rights over these rivers are exclusive. All exclusive rights to carry on any kind of function that they want to on these rivers belong to solely India. Whereas the catch is, in western rivers, Pakistan has the right to use over these rivers, but this right is not exclusive. Certain exceptions are there for India, where it can set up certain irrigation, run off the river power plants and limited storage and domestic for domestic and non-consumptive use. Now why is this exception being done, where exclusive rights is being given to India for the eastern rivers, and for western rivers exclusive rights have not been given to Pakistan? The reason is that 80% water belongs to these 3 rivers and 20% water belongs to these eastern rivers. That is why, because of the disproportionate distribution of water, Pakistan has been denied of the exclusive rights over these rivers, and India also has certain exceptions to this where it can also perform certain functions over these rivers, right. These were the important points for Indus Water Treaty which we need to remember, and apart from the perspective of prelims. With this, we take up the final article for the day, which is the core sector production grew 8.4% year on year in April. Now, this particular article becomes important for us from the perspective of GS3 for mains as well as for prelims. For the prelims, it becomes important for us from the section of Indian economy. Now, when we say core sector productivity, sab band kar dijiye. The article talks about India's core production, core sector production growing for 8.4% in April from the April of last year 2021. Now, let us look at the important points which are necessary to be looked at in this article. First is the index of 8 core industries, or these 8 core sectors which grew by 8.4% in April 2022 on year basis, but on a sequential basis it declined 9.5% from March 2022. Now, what do we mean by this when we say that the sector has grown on year basis? It means that from the last year April to this year's April, the index has shown increase. When we talk about sequential basis, we talk about the last month preceding to April, that would be March 2022. So, based on the activity of March 2022, it declined 9.5%, but from last year April 2022, it showed an increase. Now, what are these 8 core sectors, or what is the index of 8 core industries? The 8 core sectors, as the name suggests, are the fundamental core industries of the country from which, on the basis of which other industries or other sectors are based. So, these are 8 core sectors which in the decreasing order of their weightage are refinery products, electricity, steel industry, coal industry, crude oil, natural gas, cement and fertilizers. These 8 industries make up the 8 core industries, and together their index is known as index of 8 core industries. These 8 core industries comprise 40.2% of the weightage of items included in the index of industrial production. Now, what is the index of industrial production? Index of industrial production forms the larger index through which we also take in other industries, and we measure the output given out by these industries, and through that we calculate the index of industrial production, which is promulgated by the National Statistical Office under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Let us look at some points of industrial index of industrial production. It is an indicator that measures the changes in the volume of production of industrial products. So, it measures the output that is changing about the industrial production, compiled and published monthly by the National Statistical Office under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. It is a composite indicator that measures the growth rate of industry groups classified under broad sectors and use based sectors. Broad sectors, namely mining, manufacturing and electricity, which are the heavy broad sectors, and use based sectors, namely basic goods, capital goods and intermediate goods. These are the 2 classifications made under index of industrial production used for measuring the growth rate of industry. The base year for index of industrial production is 2011 to 2012. This is used as the base year. So, whatever activity that would be carried out for to measure industrial production, the base year that would be chosen would be this particular 2011 to 2022. Now, what is the significance of index of industrial production? Whenever we measure the output of all these industries, it is used by government agencies including the Ministry of Finance, the RBI, for policy making purposes. So, whatever the kind of production is occurring, they use it for the policy making purposes, and it remains extremely relevant for the calculation of quarterly and advanced GDP estimates as well. So, since GDP is the measure of amount of final goods and services in the country, so using the parameters of index of industrial production, it is also used in measuring of GDP. These were the articles that we took up from the Hindu newspaper dated 1st June. We tried to break down what is important for us from the point of view of UPSC, right? Hope you like the session. We'll meet again tomorrow with another edition of The Hindu. Thank you.